Ladies and gentlemen, every now and then a very special piece of content surfaces in Destiny. There have been a handful of really cool exotic missions and quests over the lifespan of the game, and the Presage mission, with its exotic reward Dead Man's Tale, is among the best that we've ever seen. While I'm here to review the gun and not the quest, I gotta say, the mission itself was a fantastic experience, and extremely well crafted. I'm sure many of you have made your way through the mission and got your hands on Dead Man's Tale, but at the same time, some of you probably haven't. To get yourself into the mission, load up the Arms Dealer Strike, and in the initial room, head straight through the newly opened door, rather than heading left to go outside as you normally would. And that's all I'm gonna tell you. This mission is way too good to spoil. Experience it for yourself, you'll be glad you did. But Dead Man's Tale itself is a really cool weapon, and it's one that I've had a tough time putting down since I got my hands on it. Like Huckleberry, Chaperone, Fourth Horseman, The Last Word, The Prospector, or even First Curse from Destiny 1, Dead Man's Tale is a Tex Mechanica weapon, meaning its look, its sound, and its feel is stylistically rooted in the American Wild West era. Aside from all that though, how does the weapon perform in the current sandbox? And is it a real contender, or kinda just a novelty exotic? We'll try to figure that out in this review, but if at any point during the course of this video you find it useful, helpful, or enjoyable, please remember to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel to catch much more Destiny 2 content in the very near future. But let's dive in with a look at Dead Man's Tale's stats and perks. Dead Man's Tale is an exotic kinetic scout rifle with a unique to the weapon class fire rate of 120 rounds per minute, and we have 14 rounds in the magazine. This exotic, like Hawkmoon, does have random rolls, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Your first time through the mission, you're going to get a static roll with a missing performance perk, but you can run the Presage mission again to get the randomly rolled upgraded version. So for the stats, courtesy of Destiny Tracker, we'll take a look at the one that I was able to snag this week. Across the board, the stats are very strong here. The range stat is 73, which is in line with high impact scout rifles. The stability stat is more in line with precision frame scout rifles, and the gun handles more like a lightweight frame scout rifle. The reload is 55, but this is something that we're going to have to explore a little bit deeper. The aim assist stat of 60 is pretty strong if compared to our legendary high impact scout rifles, but it's not going to rival that of Jade Rabbit or Mida Multitool. The intrinsic trait is Cranial Spike. Chaining precision hits grants bonus damage and quickens the reload speed. We'll run the numbers on that in the next section. And we're going to head over to d2gunsmith.com to check out this roll so you can see how the perks are affecting the performance. I have Fluted Barrel, adding to the stability and handling, Accurized Rounds, giving me a plus 10 to the range, Killing Wind, which rewards really nice stat boosts upon securing a kill, and Composite Stock, again adding to the handling and stability. But I'd suggest heading over to the website after this video wraps up so you can tinker around with things and kinda get a feel for what you would like to see on this weapon. When looking solely at the performance perk though, there are a few that I have my eye on. I do really like having Killing Wind, but I think Outlaw might be the overall best choice for this slot. I'd also be interested in Vorpal Weapon or Moving Target, for two completely different reasons, but I think they both could fit very well on Dead Man's Tale. But hey, I mean, your gun, your call. These are just my suggestions. But there is a catalyst for this gun that is currently unobtainable at the time of recording this video. But it is in the database, so we know that when firing from the hip, we're going to see an increase in the rate of fire. And we also are going to lose the hipfire accuracy penalty, which could be very nice on this weapon, but we're going to have to wait and see. Let's move into the PvE section though and check out Dead Man's Tale's damage, functionality, and performance. Alright, first thing I wanted to show you here is how naturally stable Dead Man's Tale really is. It has a slow 120 round per minute fire rate, allowing plenty of time for this gun to settle back in before the next trigger pull. So when aiming down sights, those bullets are nearly landing directly on top of each other. And you'll notice, no scope, no reticle, just plain old clean looking iron sights. But even when firing from the hip with Dead Man's Tale, that grouping doesn't look too bad. The reload on this weapon is unique also. When we reload, we're throwing 2 bullets at a time back into the magazine. If our magazine is completely empty, we're looking at 5.3 seconds at base to reload it to its full 14 round capacity. Do keep in mind though, you can cancel this reload at any point for a partially reloaded magazine. For the Cranial Spike intrinsic trait, each crit that you land will grant you 1 stack of Cranial Spike. The max stacks that you can carry is 5, and you must land your crits no more than 4.5 seconds apart to continue to build or maintain your stacks. You can miss shots, you can land shots to the body, you can even reload. You're gonna keep your stacks as long as you land another crit in the allotted time frame. If you reload with 5 stacks of Cranial Spike, your reload time is going to go from 5.3 seconds to 4.5 seconds, perfectly matching the window of your stack's expiration timer. You can cheat things a little bit more here by putting on a Scout Rifle Loader mod. That's going to bring your reload speed down to 3.78 seconds. And if you do have Outlaw on Dead Man's Tale, this could reduce the reload time even more, which could dramatically help out. But any auto-reloading capabilities are going to work here also. And because we can cancel that reload, you also have the option of landing a crit, reloading a few rounds, landing a crit, reloading a few rounds, and you should be able to work yourself up to a full 14 round magazine with 5x Cranial Spike. But what are we looking at as far as damage output goes? Versus our good buddy Carl the Colossus, a base crit with 0 stacks registered 5,226 points of damage. And this damage maxes out at 7,289 points of damage with 5 stacks. This is about a 7% damage increase from bullet to bullet, and from base to 5 stacks, we're looking at a 40% total damage increase. Landing body shots with Cranial Spike stacks will also increase the damage in the same manner, going from 2,978 to 4,154 at 5 stacks. But damage numbers in PvE really don't hold any meaning without a basis of comparison. So I picked 2 weapons that I wanted to measure it up against. First, the Steady Hand, a legendary aggressive frame hand cannon, sharing the same 120 RPM fire rate. With Steady Hand, a crit is hitting for 5,204, and a body shot's landing for 2,901 points of damage. This is slightly less than Dead Man's Tale's base damage. And Jade Rabbit, a high-impact exotic scout rifle with a slightly higher fire rate of 150 RPM, hits for 3,612 on a crit, and 2,058 to the body, considerably less than Dead Man's Tale. But performance-wise, outside of the cool sound, look, and feel of the weapon, the per shot damage is quite high, even at base. And this weapon rewards you for doing something you're naturally trying to do anyway, that being land crits. This isn't going to disrupt or change your gameplay at all. And a 40% damage increase from base to 5 stacks is a nice healthy chunk of bonus damage for a primary weapon, helping it take down major targets with relative ease. And this is a naturally stable weapon with very minimal visual recoil. And I do like the iron sights. While they might not be everyone's cup of tea, I think they feel right at home on this gun. With both of these things considered, it seems very easy to land crits and build stacks with Dead Man's Tale. And the Cranial Spike damage increase that we're seeing with this weapon will absolutely stack with any external damage buff, such as high energy fire. On top of that, in the current season, scout rifles are featured in the seasonal artifact. So you can take advantage of scout and sniper targeting, scout rifle loader, and unflinching scout rifle for very minimal energy cost. Plus, anti-barrier scout is also there, so this could be an option if you're going into legend or master difficulty lost sectors, or higher level nightfalls where champions are present. At the end of the day though, this is a primary exotic weapon, which in baseline content is really a non-issue. But for higher level content, you may want to spend your exotic slot on a special or heavy weapon that packs a little bit more utility or higher single target damage potential. Really the biggest downfall to Dead Man's Tale is that reload speed paired with the Cranial Spike duration window. And I'm sure this was by design just so you had to work a little bit if you want to get this weapon working at max potential. Generally speaking, is this a major issue? No, not really, because of the ease at which you can reacquire your stacks. But if you really want to maximize your damage efficiency, you will have to offset that slow reload speed in some way. All in all though, when looking at Dead Man's Tale for what it is, I think it's solid. But let's move into PvP and see how this weapon's doing in the Crucible. Alright, as usual, we'll start out with our damage numbers. And let me preface this by saying, sometimes this weapon shows 81 on a base crit, and sometimes it shows 84 on a base crit. I racked my brain for a long time trying to figure out what the heck was going on here. I thought I might have been looking at like a hidden box breathing trait, or some sort of reverse damage fall off, but nothing that I could scientifically test seemed to line up. So just keep in mind that there is a little bit of funkiness going on here. So a base crit's gonna hit for 84 or 81 points of damage, and a body shot's gonna deal 46 points of damage. This puts our optimal time to kill at 1 second by landing 2 crits and 1 body shot. And the body shot time to kill is gonna come in at 2 seconds with 5 shots landed. And here on screen is your Cranial Spike stacks to damage breakdown with Dead Man's Tale. And a few things to note. On the crits, there are 2 consecutive 94s at 3 and 4 stacks. And there always seem to be 2 consecutive numbers somewhere in that grouping. Sometimes it was earlier in the stacks, sometimes it was later in the stacks. but it was always present and there seemed to be no rhyme or reason as to when or why it was occurring. But if we're sitting at 3 stacks of Cranial Spike, we can go crit body and deal lethal damage if you land your shots in that order. If you're sitting on 5 stacks of Cranial Spike, you can deliver lethal damage in 2 crits. And with 2 stacks, we can land 4 body shots to deal lethal damage. Versus a roaming super though, we can down them by landing 5 crits. But watch out for Behemoth Titans because of that extra damage resistance, they're most likely gonna take 6. But if you are under the effect of a 20% damage buff, 2 crits will be enough to down an enemy guardian even with 0 stacks. For the physical range, we won't see any damage fall off until we are 75 meters away from our target. So in terms of performance, Dead Man's Tale kinda walks a similar path to our 120 RPM hand cannons, but it does have some advantages over them. Both weapon types deliver very high damage from extended ranges, but with Dead Man's Tale you can stretch that range considerably further. Just for a rough estimate, you're probably going to get an extra 35 meters of physical range with this gun over an aggressive frame hand cannon. This is going to give you the ability to play effectively in the longest practical sight lines in the Crucible. And if you're someone who's always been turned off by that big recoil animation of aggressive frame hand cannons, this gun completely eliminates that. I think it feels most in line with firing a 180 RPM hand cannon, where you just get that very slight pop as the weapon fires. But just like our aggressive hand cannons, we do have that 2-tap potential when we have an external damage buff active. If we can gain 5 stacks of Cranial Spike though, we have that 2-tap potential built right into the weapon, no buff required. Then the hipfire accuracy. As it sits right now, it feels serviceable, even without the benefits from the catalyst that we're going to get in the future. I wouldn't say that running around hipfiring this thing is the way to go currently, but if you do need to get a single shot off quick to clean up a target, that shot tends to land. The same can be said for the in-air accuracy. From mid-range in, if you're just asking for a single bullet to land, it does feel dependable. And then the reload speed. While it is slow from start to finish, it can be cancelled at any time, allowing you to have a few rounds in your gun ready to go. This can work out better than with 120 RPM hand cannons, who also reload very slowly, but are in an all or nothing situation. With Dead Man's Tale, if you do get caught reloading by an enemy player, you do have the option to re-engage much quicker. And last pro, these bullets fired from the weapon do seem to land with a good bit of ease. Scout rifles as a whole did see a blanket aim assist increase with Beyond Light. If you can get the range stat boosted up a little bit on this gun, it seems extremely accurate. And that physical stat of 60 in the aim assist department, while not amazing, is solid, and can add some nice shot-to-shot forgiveness. Drawbacks though, the iron sights. I personally like them, but others may not. The only other weapon that I can think of in Destiny that had true iron sights was No Land Beyond from Destiny 1. Aiming down sights with Dead Man's Tale will feel different than with other weapons in Destiny 2. You may be into this, or you might not. On the same hand, there's obviously no scope. Dead Man's Tale is a long-range precision-based weapon without a lot of zoom magnification. Here again, I personally prefer it this way, but for those of you who want to really focus in at longer ranges, you might not. Lastly, this is a slow-firing weapon that isn't going to perform all that well at closer ranges. The catalyst could change this, but right now, if an enemy is able to close the gap on you before you can swap to your other weapon, it's probably not going to go well. Dead Man's Tale is definitely a weapon that asks you to be mindful of your positioning and cognizant of your surroundings. For the verdict, I really think Dead Man's Tale is a great addition to Destiny 2 on both sides of the game. The overall feel of the weapon is unique, and it's backed up by its solid performance. And I think the thing I appreciate most about this gun is that it can achieve this without disrupting my playstyle. There's no specific gimmick or mechanic that I need to follow to a T to get the most out of the weapon. I mean, all you gotta do is land crits, which is the game plan anyway, and this gun will reward you for it. So yeah, this is a very nice weapon that's going to perform well in a wide variety of content. And to whoever is responsible for turning this gun from a concept into a reality, well done. But if you did enjoy this video, please remember to leave it a like, and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel if you're really digging the content and you'd like to see more. To catch me live, I will occasionally be streaming right here on YouTube. And to contact me, you can look for Ironworker814 on Twitter, join our channel Discord, link will be in the description, or comment down below and I will do my best to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.